7 Days to Die has an absolutely broken set of armor, and today we're going to talk about it. Let's get to it. What you're looking at is the most broken armor in 7 Days to Die. And I know I often call things broken or OP, but this one really is. So much so that it often feels like cheating. It feels like you are in ghost mode. And for those of you who may not know what I'm talking about, ghost is often an admin command that you can run on many different survival style games where the enemies just can't see you. You're not in God or anything like that. You can still die. Everything about you is the same. You're just invisible to the enemies. And that is what running the assassin's armor feels like. It is so strong that you can walk right up to a zombie, stare it right dead in the eyes, and then knife it in the face and get sneak bonus damage. Not only that, if you get spotted, all you need to do is find the tiniest bit of shadow and then hide, and the zombie will lose you. It is so strong that when you are in a shaded area or within shadows, you can stand up, so not be crouching. The zombie will see you. You can crouch in the shadows and it will stop dead in its tracks. You are completely invisible when you are crouching within the shadows. That's not powerful enough for you? How about you shoot a zombie with a bow and you don't kill it on the first try, and it just stands there because it has no clue where you are. But 99% of the time, that is not going to be the case, because if you land a headshot with a bow, you do such insane damage that you can take out the most feral or radiated of big to small zombies with a single headshot from a tier 1 primitive bow with stone arrows, because you're getting insane damage multipliers when you are sneaking once you have everything stacked up. But getting to that point will take a bit of work because you are going to need a few books. However, without those books, you still do really good damage with the most basic of builds and wearing tier 6 version of this armor. Even if the zombies have feral sense, they still don't notice you in most cases. You can't get as close to them as you can if they don't have feral sense. If they don't have feral sense, you can practically bump into them and they won't notice you're there. If they do, you can get relatively close and they won't notice you. But if you get a little bit too close, about an arm's length, they will see you and they will chase you down. However, this basic build and set of armor is so incredibly broken that you only got to put a slight distance between you and them and be in the shadows and they will lose you. And you can easily see this because in all of these video clips, I'm constantly getting sneak damage, which means they are not aware of me at all. So now that you know how absolutely insane this set of armor is and this build is, let's talk about how to build it. So ideally, you want the tier 6 set of assassin's armor. That is so you can get the bonus, and the bonus that you get is what allows you to lose zombies incredibly quickly if they notice you. Now, the game doesn't specifically tell you what is happening here. It just says become hidden 100% faster, which isn't exactly the case because it is not 100%, it's actually 0.99%. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, Firespark, how do you know this? Well, step back and buckle up because we're about to get really nerdy. So you can look at most of the code in this game through the XML files, and I found all of the code for all of the different armors and their bonuses. So if you take a look at this, this is the code that sets the buff that you get for the tier 6 assassin's armor. It's pretty easy to understand what's happening here. So this is a passive effect, as you can see here. The name is enemy search duration, so that's what it's affecting. And then it has the operation, so it's adding a percent value. That value is negative 0.99, so negative 0.99%. What's interesting is you will notice that at the top it says requirements, armor group lowest quality, so the lowest piece of armor you're wearing affects the bonus that you're going to get. It says group name, which is the assassin's group because we're wearing the assassin armor, operation equals value 6. So if the lowest piece you are wearing is 6, which means you're going to have a full set of 6 in order to get this, that's the value you get, is a 99% reduction to enemy search duration. Now, something that the game does not inform you of is that each tier, the full set bonus changes. For example, the assassin set, if you're wearing the full set of tier 1, is a 15% reduction in search duration. Tier 2 is a 30, tier 3 is 45, tier 4, 60, tier 5, 75, and obviously tier 6 is 99. But this is just part of the overall equation. If we take a look at the code for the assassin chest piece, you can see here it is first checking to see if we are crouching. So it is making a comparison to a variable, and that variable is crouching, and then it's saying if it equals 1. So yes, if it equals we are crouching, then it applies these effects. It affects our light multiplier, which think of your light multiplier as how encased in shadows you are. Then it affects our noise multiplier, our crouch speed, and our enemy search duration, or the enemy's search search duration. The value corresponds with the tier number. So for example, if we take a look at noise multiplier, it says value negative 0.02. That's 2%, and that corresponds with the first number over there, which is 1, which would be tier 1. So tier 1 gets you a 2% reduction to your noise multiplier. All of this comes together to create how stealthy you are. All of this stacks with everything else. I'm not exactly sure how it's stacking though. I'm not sure how the math is done, because how the math is done is going to make a big difference on the overall percentages. If you have something that is, for example, negative 50%, and then you have another buff that is negative 50%, and it adds those two together to make negative 100%, well, then it's negative 100% whatever the value is. If you take it and you separate each of those, so it's negative 50%, then you total the value, then you negative 50% that is not the same as negative 100%. However, I do know that something very wonky is going on here, and that all of these values stack together to make you more or less a invisible god. And I can tell some wonky math is happening because of our boots. Let's take a look at the code for the boots. So you can see up at the top it says display value, name equals denoise multiplier, value negative 100%, and then that's for each tier. It doesn't matter which tier of the boots you have, it's always a negative 100% noise multiplier. It's not quite negative 100% because if we take a look here at this line, you can see it says passive effect, name, noise multiplier, operation, percent add, value, negative 0.999. So not quite 100%, but close enough. Then we have the passive effect, silence block footsteps, operation base set, value 1, tags, trash pile. So what that is doing is that means that we can run over trash piles and we have a 100% value of not making any noise. But for all of this to work, it checks to see if we are crouching, which you can see here, that same operation that we looked at before, where it's comparing whether we are crouching or not. It is also comparing whether or not we have the tag running. So we have to actually be sprinting in order to get this effect. And you're thinking, well, Firespark, that's fine. That sounds on the up and up. Well, it is until we start to make a bunch of noise while we are sprinting. The more noise you make while you are sprinting, the further down your little bar there where how visible you are goes, to the point where we can run around with a chainsaw active and we have 0 visibility. Our stealth bar is at 0, so we are as hidden as we can be while operating a chainsaw sprinting. So yes, there is some wonky math going on. Now here's the thing, we're not done because this gets even more broken. There are a set of skills we can get called From the Shadows. From the Shadows says that we specialize in sneaking around in the dark and make less noise in general. At just tier 4 of this, you don't even need to max it out. You only need 7 points into agility. That will get you to tier 4 of From the Shadows. Here is a small clip of me clearing out a very high level jail up in the frozen area without being seen. Feral sense is not on in this clip, so I'm getting maximum stalkery goodness going on here, but you can clearly see that the difficulty means nothing for us with just wearing the tier 6 assassin armor and having 4 points into From the Shadows. Level 4 of From the Shadows states hide in the shadows 52% more effectively. Noises from actions are muffled 40% and sneak movement is 40% faster. Enemies will search for you for up to 25 seconds. Now remember, we have lowered that twice. And like I said before, I'm not 100% sure how the math is being done, but I've done it a couple of different ways and it's pretty safe to say that it ends up being a couple of milliseconds. The only other points I have spent in all of the footage you've seen thus far is I've put 4 points into medium armor and 3 points into parkour. I have not spec'd into bows or deep cuts for knives or anything like that, just the 4 points in From the Shadows, 7 into agility, 4 into medium armor, and 3 into parkour. And I'm completely broken. But of course, like with anything, there's always room for improvement. We can be even more broken. First off, you want to either specialize into archery, pistols, or knives, or all 3 of them for that matter. If you do pistols, you must have a silencer. With a silencer on a pistol, you will be just as invisible as you are with using a bow or a crossbow. And while pistols are fun, do note that you do not get the full amount of sneak damage with pistols that you will with archery or knives. However, being able to use a firearm will be very handy during Horde Night. Next, we want some specific books. Now, ideally, you want to read all of the books from these sets, but these are going to be the ones that really just drive home the build. Night Stalker number 1 will allow you to do 10% more sneak damage at night. Night Stalker number 2 says meld into the shadows and sneak 5% better at nighttime. We learned earlier exactly what sneaking means, so it's just going to add 5% more to all of the values that your chess piece already gives you. Night Stalker Volume 7 is going to let you do 50% more sneak damage to sleeping victims at night. Urban Combat Volume 1 makes it so that your boots will inflict no stamina penalty, and it reduces your noise while moving. This should take effect whether you are sneaking or not, because it doesn't say that you have to be sneaking, so this should affect you when sneaking or when not sneaking. Urban Combat Volume 4 states that when you are sneaking, you land silently unless you are taking damage and your jump height is not reduced. This means that if you have parkour, you can jump full parkour height while you're sneaking. Urban Combat Volume 6 states that your armor doesn't slow you down when you are in combat. This means that if you get spotted, you are not slowed down, allowing you to quickly move to the shadows and lose the enemy. As soon as this happens, you won't be in combat anymore and you will lose this bonus. Urban Combat Volume 7 says that you take 5% less damage and deal 10% more damage when indoors. This just allows your sneak attacks to hit even harder. And to top it all off, because the build isn't nearly broken enough, we have the Great Heist Volume 6, which allows you to sneak sprint and not use any stamina. Remember all the bonuses I said that we get when we are sprinting while sneaking? Yeah, you just get those and you can do it all the time with absolutely no penalty. And at this point, you are so ridiculously broken that even with the hardest possible settings you can set the game to, you are still going to feel like you are cheating. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. As always, there are some downsides to this build, and a majority of those downsides come during the daytime. The max effect you can get from this build is going to be at nighttime and in the shadows. The light is not your friend. So at nighttime, you get all of the bonuses you get for sneaking at night, obviously, and there are a lot more shadows and a lot less light. However, POIs do have light sources. You do want to do your best to avoid those. Just keep an eye on your sneak meter. It's not very hard to do. If something is in the light, just shoot it at range. Even if you don't spec into bows, as I have showed you, just keep a lousy tier 1 trash bow and some stone arrows on you, and you're going to one-shot most things. Even if you don't one-shot them, they're going to stand up and just not know what's going on and stand there while you shoot them to death. The other downfall to this build, and I tested this pretty thoroughly, is Horde Night. They just know where you're at. You can't do anything about it. The Horde will always be able to find you when it is Horde Night. However, if you have the proper points into parkour and all the other points that I've talked about during all this video, you can pretty much outrun the Horde most of the night, get to areas where they can't get to you thanks to parkour, and then shoot them, do a decent amount of damage to them, dodge them, or you can just build a proper Horde base and kill them in a proper Horde base as you normally would. You just won't get all of the bonuses that you normally get. This build excels on every other aspect other than Horde Night. It's just gonna be okay during Horde Night with a proper Horde base. All right, and that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you all found this video helpful and informational. If you did, please consider hitting the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified when I upload other videos. And if you're looking for some more of my content, you can find a link to another one of my videos on the screen right now. I want to give an absolute massive shout out and thank you to all of my channel supporters for helping to keep these videos sponsor free. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to become an official channel supporter, check out the links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and share your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.